You know, we all use tools like VPNs to connect to work or private networks from, well, anywhere. And it kind of feels like magic, right? But behind the scenes, there's this unsung hero, this digital gatekeeper that makes it all happen securely. So today, we are pulling back the curtain on that gatekeeper, the reverse proxy.
Okay, so before we meet our gatekeeper, we first have to understand the problem it's designed to solve. And you can think of it like this. How do you build one single secure front door between the total chaos of the public internet and your private digital world?
Picture this. You're at a coffee shop, you connect to your company's network to grab a file, and poof, it just works. But have you ever stopped and wondered what's actually going on under the hood to keep that connection safe? I mean, how does your request securely travel all the way from your laptop to one specific server hidden deep inside a private network?
And that, right there, is the core challenge. The public internet is, the Wild West. Your private network is supposed to be a secure castle. You need a way to connect the two without just opening the floodgates to every single thread out there. You need a gatekeeper.
So, how do we build this gate? Well, we do it with something called a reverse proxy. And honestly, the best way to get your head around it isn't to think of it as a gate, but more like a highly professional digital receptionist.
And I'm not talking about just any receptionist. This one stands at the only entrance to the entire building. It handles every incoming call, every visitor, verifies their identity, finds out exactly what they need, and then goes and gets it for them. The key is the visitor never has to wander the halls by themselves.
All right, so let's put a slightly more technical definition on our receptionist. A reverse proxy is basically an intermediary server. It sits right in front of your actual web servers, catching all the incoming requests. The most important thing to remember is that the outside world only ever talks to the proxy.
Now, you've probably heard the term proxy before, but you might be thinking of a forward proxy, and the difference is absolutely critical. A forward proxy, like a personal VPN, works for you, the client, to hide your identity online. A reverse proxy does the exact opposite. It works for the server network, hiding its identity from you. So one protects the visitor, the other protects the building itself.
So how does this whole digital receptionist idea connect back to the world of VPNs? Well, as it turns out, it is the absolute perfect security model for granting remote access to a private network.
When you connect to your work VPN, you're not actually connecting directly to some random server inside the office. Nope. You are connecting to this one, single, heavily fortified entry point, the reverse proxy. It is the only door in or out of that entire network.
And this right here is the big security payoff. Your file servers, your databases, all your internal applications, they remain completely invisible to the outside world. They're totally shielded, tucked away safely behind the proxy, which does all the risky talking with the public internet for them.
Okay, let's make this even more concrete. We're going to follow a single request for data, a tiny little data packet, on its complete journey from your laptop through the VPN to the server and all the way back again. So it all starts when you send a request. That request flies across the internet and hits the front desk. That's our reverse proxy. The proxy takes a look at your request, confirms you're allowed to be there, and then it carries your request internally to the correct server. That server hands the data back to the proxy, which then delivers it securely right back to you. And here's the kicker. At no point did your computer ever speak directly to that internal server.
So, if you take just one thing away from that packet's journey, let it be this. Your computer only knows one single address, the address of the receptionist at the front desk. The entire layout of the office building behind it, where all the different departments and file rooms are located, that remains a complete mystery.
Okay, so why does all of this matter? Why is this whole gatekeeper setup so powerful? Let's talk about the big payoffs.
There are 4 huge benefits here. First, obviously, is enhanced security. We've seen how it basically makes your internal network a ghost. Second, you get centralized control. Just imagine having one single dashboard to manage all your security rules, instead of having to configure dozens of different servers. Third is increased scalability. This is the secret sauce that stops major websites from crashing during a Super Bowl ad. The proxy acts like a traffic cop, spreading requests out to whichever servers are free. And finally, it gives you simplified access. Everyone gets just one clean, secure address to connect to. Easy.
It all really comes down to this one number, 1. You have just one public-facing door to protect.
So instead of trying to secure every window and backdoor on hundreds of different servers, you can pour all of your resources into making that one single entry point an impenetrable fortress.
This model, this whole idea, has served us incredibly well for years. It's a workhorse. But as our digital world gets even more complex, with data and apps living everywhere from the cloud to the edge, it leaves us with a really fascinating question. What's the next evolution of the digital front door going to look like?